Hello, welcome to the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alicia Shelly. Now, I've had several clients, several family members, several friends tell me how pregnancy had derailed their health. They were doing great before they got pregnant, and then after pregnancy, the stress of being a new mom, all the stress and the different obligations really put a toll on them. And it was hard for them to kind of get back to their pre-pregnancy health. And so today I have expert Dr. Latoya Lucis Sampson. You can see her as Dr. Toya on social media. She is a wife, a mother, a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and coach. She shows physician moms who are postpartum and beyond how to go from feeling anxiety and resentment to feeling confidence and joy after having a baby. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Toya. So good to have you.
So much. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, before we get started, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you get into this space?
Yeah, so I am Latoya Lucis Sampson. I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I went to Howard University, the best university in the entire country, just in case you're wondering. And I trained in Philadelphia and have been living and practicing in California. And I've had a tumultuous journey, to say the least. But the short version is I was practicing as an OB, got burnt out, and then went to do locums. And if my path out of burnout was through entrepreneurship. And through the entrepreneurship, I then discovered speaking and, fell back in love with educating patients, which led me to educate people online. And while I was doing all of that, I had a second baby. And it was my second postpartum experience that was very rough on me, but I thought that it would be fine because it was the second baby, right? And I was in full control. I was an entrepreneur, but it was not that way at all. And I really just didn't take time to take care of myself and heal and rest. And I didn't have as much support as I would have liked. So it was a very difficult time. So as I worked through that and came through it, I really wanted to help other physician moms just really avoid what I went through and just educate people and build that community that we are so lacking in this day and age, and just help people feel less alone and more seen.
Awesome. That is wonderful. I'm so glad you're here today to kind of help our audience through this. Because there may be other moms who've had maybe multiple pregnancies and just, it just was difficult. So What are some challenges that moms face after having their baby?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. So So the breastfeeding can be a big one. And I know that the data says that breastfeeding is protective against postpartum depression. But I find for many high achieving women, especially physician moms, it can be like the opposite because we put so much pressure on ourselves. And if there are any issues, supply issues, any kind of pain, anything where you cannot do it or you can't do it the way that you thought you could, it can cause a lot of issues. I have a really special interest in mental health in this time. And it's one of the biggest things that I feel like people don't consider that could really affect your mental health. It's what affected mine, and I had to stop early. But it also plays into your body and your weight and how you want to look, because breastfeeding makes you ravenous, right? It makes you really, really hungry. And when you add on fatigue and anxiety and all those things, you feel like you deserve food. And of course, it's not healthy food. At least it wasn't for me. It was, all of the things that give you good milk is like oatmeal cookies and, chocolate and all of those things. So it can be, really tough to balance this desire to do the best thing for your baby, to feed the baby from your body, and then also look a certain way, and then add on the guilt of wanting to look a certain way, and even trying to sacrifice your milk supply and maybe whatever that may mean for you and your family. So it can be a very complicated time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so definitely I can see that if you're not able to breastfeed, initially that can be very stressful for you. And then on top of that, trying to get back to your healthy body weight is even harder.
Exactly.
You're so hungry. Any other challenges that moms face, especially maybe not only just the breastfeeding, the mental health aspect, anything else that moms are facing even after, or any challenges that you faced after having your son?
Yeah, so there's the physical aspect. So your body went through this very big event, right? You may have actual physical healing to do if you had any tears, if you had a C-section. But even if everything went perfectly, like my delivery was uncomplicated, but I still had a lot of pain postpartum just from the changes that my body went through and the healing process that just needed time. There was nothing actually wrong. Just that all that stretching and the weight from my very big daughter caused like a lot of residual pain. And then if you have leaking because you were pregnant, and that's a normal thing that happens, and eventually get better. If you have dryness down there, I don't know how much you want me to say on your podcast, but there are lots of physical changes that can happen as well. And especially if you are trying to become more active, it can really inhibit that. And it's not just like 6 weeks comes and everything is fine. That joint pain and, the just muscle weakness and all of those things can last quite a long time. So it can be difficult in that respect as well. And then if you don't have support, right? If you don't have your village around you, if you have people around you, but they are not helpful, it can be very isolating. And that's why, I say I help moms go from resentful and anxiety to confidence and joy, because it is a very common feeling when you feel like you don't have the support that you need in such a tumultuous time. So I could go on and on about all of the challenges, but if anybody's listening, it's not all bad. It's great.
How bad? Well, let's think about what are some strategies that we can use to overcome, because we talked about the biggest ones is number one, the body changing, a lot different after your pregnancy than it was before. Mental health back, the breastfeeding that could be difficult. And, the one thing we did talk about was that mom guilt. And guilt that, I need to be with my baby 24/7. I'll be going for a walk. It's just not, so how to overcome those particular
well, I'm a really big advocate for alone time. It is a very postpartum, especially immediately postpartum, is a very high touch time. Like most people are literally feeding the child from their bodies. Like the baby is on you all the time, and that can really have an effect on you physically and mentally, because if you are carrying the baby all the time, if you are not getting enough sleep, then you are going to be negatively affected. And if you don't have a minute just to not be wanted, not be needed, not be questioned, it can really affect your mental health as well. So I really advocate for moms at every stage. Once you're done recovering and you can walk around and do those things, just to have some alone time, even if it's you resting, somebody else has the baby, sign on the door saying, don't disturb, just to get a little bit of time for yourself. Like you said, going for walks is a really nice way to get you active. That doesn't involve you, like going to the gym or anything like that. And it can be just getting that time to just hear yourself think and just to be, which is very often something that is hard to come by when you are postpartum. And, you can't tell people don't be guilty. You just can't. You're going to be guilty, but you don't have a reason to. Like putting one of my biggest platforms or soapboxes is that moms need to put themselves first. They have to make sure that they're healed, make sure that they are healthy, because you are your own person. You matter. You are worthy of the care and love and support that it takes for you to be all those things. And it is also beneficial for your family as well if you are healthy. You cannot be feeding your child if you're not physically healthy or mentally healthy, right? So you really have to put yourself first. And once you believe that, once you know it, you really have a lot less guilt. I wouldn't say none, because it still comes, but it comes with the territory, but it will be a lot less.
I like that. So make sure that you put yourself first, finding that mom time, that adult time, where you're able to kind of come back to yourself per se. Any strategies? And you said if your body has stretched and things of that leaking, it's just allowing it time to heal. So should you be tired most of the time? Should you stretch during this time, or should you, should you start exercising
Yeah. So it really depends on the person, right? The recommendations are not just for everybody. If you had a delivery vaginally or C-section, those things change. So of course you follow up with your doctor and follow their recommendations, but you can start being active as soon as you can. It is beneficial to you and when you say active, it literally can mean getting up and walking around the room, getting up and walking outside, right? So when we think about activity and exercise postpartum, it looks a little bit different, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be something super strenuous, and then you work yourself back up to wherever you were before, or even if you want to, take it up a notch and, introduce some new exercises and things like that. Usually it's not going to be before 6 weeks if you've had a vaginal birth, or 8 if you had a C-section. Like I said, it's really individualized. And the thing I tell most people is you have to remember, no matter how you give birth, your core is very weakened when you have a pregnancy, when you have a baby in there. That's just what happens. That's why you have the leaking and all of those things. So just focusing on strengthening that core first, which doesn't mean crunches. It can be as simple as starting with like belly breathing, just really doing some deep core work and realizing that your core is the entire thing. It goes from the ribs down to your pelvic floor, wraps around your belly to your back. Like that entire thing has to strengthen up before you can start doing anything really strenuous, because you can risk hurting yourself. You can risk having a diastasis worsen if you have one. So it is really something that you want to do carefully and just taking your time and going slowly to get yourself back to where you want to be.
I like that. So starting where you are, but just kind of moving, to taking baby steps that kind of get you to where you want to be. Those are good. That's a really good strategy people can use. Now, is there anything that people can do to help prepare themselves for delivery, like prior to deliveries, or something they should be doing during pregnancy or even, prenatal care to help?
Yeah. So I love planning for postpartum because very few people do. Everybody plans for the baby, but it is really important to plan for your postpartum, and just being active during the pregnancy can actually help you feel better. I had a lot of pain during my pregnancy because she was so big. I had to stop working, but I actually felt worse if I laid down in the bed for too long. Like when I got up, it was like even more painful. So it was like this very interesting balance of some kind of movement and, still being able to rest and take the time that you need. But I've found that being active in some way is better than being in bed all the time. Because, in general, bed rest, first of all, it doesn't really help you medically, but it can actually harm you. So some kind of activity can just help you not be deconditioned and make it a much more seamless transition to when you're postpartum, and just really preparing and thinking about how am I going to be postpartum? What do I need? Let me talk to my family and my support system and tell them, these are the things that I need. These are the concerns that I have. Just making sure that the support is there for you so that you're not in it and like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I need. I don't know what to do. So planning is really important.
Well, thank you so much for your time and strategies that you've given us today. Any last minute advice do you have to moms who are, trying to get back after having, get their body back, get their health back after having their children? Any advice postpartum period?
Yes. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, you just had a baby, you should love your body how it is. I don't believe that at all. You can work to whatever kind of body you want to. You could want to get back, having a snapback is fine. Whatever you want to do. But while you're doing that, giving yourself all the grace in the world, because you just had a baby, this major event that happened in your life, and it may take time and it may be frustrating. It may be, just really upsetting to not be able to feel how you want to feel and look how you want to look. But with determination and with help, you can get there. And don't let anybody make you feel bad for wanting to have a snapback. Nothing's wrong with that.
Yes, nothing's wrong with that. Things wrong with that. Well, before we go, would you mind just sharing how people can work with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So I can be found on my website. It's drtoyacoaching.com. So it's DRTOYA coaching.com. And you can find everything there about my coaching. Like I said, I do one-on-one, really individualized coaching for physician moms and really professional working moms in general who are in this early phase and just need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of community, a little bit of help just figuring things out during this stage. I also can be found on social media at Dr. Toya Coaching everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. Well, Facebook is just my name. TikTok and YouTube. And I have a podcast also. It's called Stethoscopes and Strollers, where you can get all of my support, all of my messaging about what you deserve, which is everything. You deserve it all. And if you listen to Stethoscopes and Strollers, it will help you feel a little more seen and a lot less alone.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast. If you all like this episode, please share it with others, like it and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. And we will see you all next time.